Boston, March 18, 1990. The city sleeps under a chill pre-dawn fog when, at exactly 1:24 a.m., two men dressed as police officers ring the side entrance bell of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. What followed would become the largest art heist in modern history. 81 minutes later, priceless masterpieces have vanished. The gilded frame of Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee now stands hauntingly empty, canvas roughly cut from its resting place. Surveillance tapes are missing. No alarms sound. No desperate chase ensues. Instead, the silence of the museum is left even heavier, every shadow now thick with suspicion. How could anyone carry out such a daring, surgical operation, stealing 13 works of art and vanishing into the night? Who had the confidence to take on a fortress built to protect the world's most valuable treasures? As daylight breaks over Boston, the world will soon learn what's been lost. Not just millions of dollars in art, but a part of the city's soul. Yet in these opening moments, almost no one realizes what has happened. The museum's guards, Rick Abath and Randy Hestand, are left bound in the basement. Above them, the echo of footsteps and the ghostly voids on the gallery walls mark the first few minutes of a mystery that will haunt investigators for decades. The question remains, was this just the perfect crime, or something even stranger? With every empty frame, the Gardner Museum would forever carry a scar, and the world would be left asking, who walked out with history under their arm? The victim, a museum and its masterpieces. To understand the true scale of the Gardner heist, we have to look beyond the crime scene and step into the heart of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum itself. In this case, the victim is not a single person, but an entire institution, and in a sense, the priceless art within its walls. The Gardner was not just a building, it was a living legacy, built by the will and vision of Isabella Stewart Gardner herself, a fiercely independent woman who curated her collection with obsessive detail. Each gallery, each object, was chosen not just for beauty, but for a kind of harmony, a private collection transformed into a public gift, a promise to future generations. Among the stolen works, Vermeer's The Concert, one of only about 34 Vermeer paintings known to exist in the world. Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, his only seascape. A lady and gentleman in black, and a rare etching self-portrait. From the hands of Flink came Landscape with an Obelisk. There was Manet's intimate Chez Tortoni, 5 delicate sketches by Degas, a Chinese bronze beaker from the Shang dynasty, and the bronze eagle finial from Napoleon's own battle flag. But the true wound was deeper than the sum of the items. Gardner's unique philosophy dictated that the museum's display never be changed. After the theft, the empty frames were left hanging in place, purposefully, painfully. It is as if the museum itself insists on never letting the world forget what was lost. The collection, once a triumph of private passion made public, now bears the scars of that night. A constant reminder of what can never truly be replaced. The value, nearly $500 million, with a standing $10 million reward for the return of the works. But for Boston, for art lovers, and for the Gardner legacy, the true loss was something that money could never buy. Cracks in the fortress. Warnings and vulnerabilities. On the surface, the Gardner Museum appeared to be a sanctuary for art, protected, serene, and timeless. But beneath the marble floors and gilded frames, there were subtle fractures. The cracks that would make the world's most infamous art heist possible were not in the walls themselves, but in the routines, habits, and small decisions of those trusted to guard the treasures within. Security was, in many ways, only as strong as the night shift. The museum's policies stated that doors must never be opened after hours. Yet, on the night of the robbery, that rule was broken. It was Rick Abath, the young security guard and aspiring musician, who pressed the buzzer that let the fake police officers inside. Was it just a lapse in judgment? Or was there something more? That single act would change everything. Then there were the machines. Motion detectors tracked movement in nearly every gallery. On most nights, the logs were quiet. But after the theft, investigators found something odd. The Blue Room, where Manet's Chez Tortoni vanished, recorded only Abath's movements before the theft, and not a trace of the intruders. Did this mean there was a technical failure? Or had someone inside the museum played a part in the scheme? Theories of an inside job would linger for years, fanned by the detail that just the night before, Abath had also been seen on security video opening the same side door. Despite exhaustive questioning, no employee was ever charged. Yet, these irregularities left investigators with uneasy questions. Was this a meticulously timed operation exploiting a vulnerable routine, or something more personal, an inside betrayal? If the cracks in the Gardner's defenses had been noticed earlier, would art history have been different? Every great heist begins with a weakness. For the Gardner Museum, those weaknesses, small, human, almost invisible, would become legendary. The night unfolds. A timeline of the heist. March 18th, 1990. Boston's streets are empty in the pre-dawn hours. Inside the Gardner Museum, it's just Rick Abath and Randy Hestand on duty. A quiet night, at least on the surface. Then, at 1:24 a.m., everything changes. Two men, dressed in crisp Boston police uniforms, appear at the side entrance. They ring the bell, claiming to investigate a disturbance. Abath, breaking protocol, lets them in. Within moments, the illusion drops. "Gentlemen, this is a robbery," one of the impostors declares. In less than a minute, both guards are overpowered, handcuffed, and bound with duct tape, left helpless in the basement. For the next 81 minutes, the museum belongs to the thieves. Their movements are confident, almost rehearsed. At 1:30 a.m., they head straight to the Dutch room. There, they attack with precision. Rembrandt's Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee is cut from its frame. A Lady and Gentleman in Black is removed. The concert, by Vermeer, one of the world's rarest, is unhooked and disappears into the night. Nearby, landscape with an obelisk vanishes too, along with the Chinese bronze beaker and the Napoleon finial. But the operation isn't over. The thieves move to the short gallery, taking 5 sketches by Degas, works valuable but odd choices for a traditional art market heist. In the Blue Room, Manet's Chez Tortoni is quietly removed. By now, they've also located the CCTV system, pulling out the surveillance tapes, erasing what should have been their trail. At precisely 2:45 a.m., the thieves leave. In their wake, silence, empty frames, and a museum forever changed. It isn't until 8:15 a.m. that police respond and to the guards' desperate call for help. The job, completed in just 81 minutes, is already being called the art crime of the century. The Gardner's greatest treasures are gone, and all that remains are haunting questions, and a trail gone cold before the world even wakes up. The investigation begins. Witnesses, evidence, and early theories. The morning after the heist, the Gardner Museum was a crime scene in shock. Police and FBI agents descended on the building, determined to recover the stolen masterpieces. But what they found was a puzzle with almost every crucial piece missing. The first and only direct witnesses were the two guards, Rick Abath and Randy Hestand. Their statements painted a picture of cool professionalism. Two police officers, polite but authoritative, who subdued them without violence or chaos. Abath recalled that the uniforms looked authentic, and the thieves seemed to know exactly where to go and what to take. But could their memories be trusted? Were the guards simply outmatched, or had they played a more active role? Despite intense scrutiny, nothing definitive ever emerged. With the CCTV tapes stolen, investigators turned to the museum's motion detectors, which silently recorded movement throughout the building. These digital breadcrumbs formed the backbone of the reconstruction. The thieves' path was erratic in some galleries, but laser-focused in others. Oddly, in the Blue Room, where Manet's Chez Tortoni was stolen, the sensors picked up only Rick Abath's movements earlier that night, raising suspicions of an inside job or a technical malfunction. Then came the forensic work. The rough cuts on the Rembrandt canvas, the methodical removal of frames, and the absence of panic all pointed to thieves with practical experience, someone comfortable working quickly, under pressure, and likely familiar with art handling. This wasn't the work of amateurs, nor did it fit the cliché of a foreign collector commissioning a shopping list of masterpieces. Some items, like the Degas sketches, were valuable but not the most coveted on the international black market. As weeks turned into months, every lead seemed to circle back to the same mysteries. Who planned this with such precision? Was it a local crew with inside knowledge, or a wider network with unexpected motives? Despite international alerts and endless interviews, no concrete suspect was ever charged, and no ransom demands ever surfaced. The Gardner case, for all its noise, had become a riddle, one where each clue only seemed to deepen the enigma. The turning point, new evidence and a shift in focus. Years passed, but the Gardner case refused to fade. In 2013, more than 2 decades after the crime, the FBI released a bombshell. They believed, with a high degree of confidence, that those responsible belonged to organized crime networks operating in New England and the Mid-Atlantic. Suddenly, the investigation pivoted away from the myth of a shadowy billionaire collector toward something more local, more methodical, and possibly even more dangerous. According to new intelligence, some of the stolen artwork had reportedly passed through Connecticut and the Philadelphia area. Rumors began to swirl that pieces like Vermeer's The Concert or Rembrandt's masterpiece could be hidden away in a private basement, swapped on the black market, or used as collateral in the criminal underworld. Investigators began focusing on individuals tied to regional organized crime, men who moved in the shadows, dealing not only in art but in drugs, guns, and power. One name surfaced repeatedly: Robert Bobby Gentile, a known associate of mafia figures in Connecticut. Authorities searched his home multiple times, seizing documents and even a list believed to reference the stolen works. Yet, Gentile always denied any involvement. He died in 2021, taking his secrets, if he had any, to the grave. Public pressure led the museum and law enforcement to double down on outreach, even raising the reward to $10 million for credible information leading to the recovery of the art. For the first time, the Gardner Museum began to openly embrace the empty frame strategy, leaving the vacant borders of lost masterpieces as a living plea for help. By 2025, public opinion had shifted. No longer did people believe the works were lost forever. Instead, hope lingered that the art still existed, tucked away somewhere, waiting for a chance to come home. The question was, after all these years, would anyone finally step out of the shadows and break the silence? Verdict deferred. No arrests, no closure. More than 3 decades have passed since that early morning in 1990. Yet the halls of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum remain haunted by empty frames. For all the global headlines and FBI bulletins, the legal system has never delivered a resolution. No one has been arrested, no charges have ever stuck, and, most painfully, none of the 13 stolen pieces have returned. Over the years, various suspects emerged: small-time crooks, seasoned mobsters, and even former museum staff. But every promising lead fizzled out, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. The files are still active under the FBI's Boston office. The case technically open, and the $10 million reward still unclaimed. Occasionally, new tips surface: claims of secret stashes, anonymous letters, tantalizing rumors about high-stakes art deals gone wrong. Yet, every fresh trail seems to circle back to the same dead ends: silence, secrecy, and the cold reality of stolen history. The Gardner Museum itself has become both a victim and a crusader. Its galleries, intentionally displaying the empty frames, serve as a daily reminder of the heist and a silent appeal for the public's help. Staff field thousands of tips, each one investigated with hope and usually disappointment. The museum's unique no-change policy, set by Isabella Gardner herself, ensures the crime's impact will always be visible. The frames will stay empty, the loss never papered over or forgotten. Through it all, the art world continues to mourn, and law enforcement refuses to give up. The case is now a cautionary tale and a rallying cry, inspiring new generations of investigators, art lovers, and even thieves. Justice in the traditional sense remains elusive, but the Gardner's pursuit endures, proof that some crimes echo longer than a single lifetime. Aftermath and legacy, the echoes of an unsolved crime decades after that fateful night, the Gardner heist still casts a long shadow, not only over Boston, but across the art world itself. The theft was more than a loss of objects. It was the loss of public memory, of cultural heritage. For generations who visited the museum, the empty frames are both an open wound and a symbol, a reminder of how vulnerable even the most cherished treasures can be. The consequences go beyond heartbreak. The heist redefined museum security standards worldwide, spotlighting the human element as the weakest link in even the most fortified systems. The use of motion sensor logs to reconstruct the thieves' route became a textbook case for investigators everywhere, teaching new lessons in vigilance and humility. At the Gardner, staff and visitors alike are confronted daily with the reality that art, once lost, may never return, and that history itself can be rewritten in less than an hour and a half. Yet, there is resilience in the aftermath. The museum's decision to leave the empty frames on display was once controversial, but now it serves as a powerful testament to the enduring hope for recovery. The $10 million reward still stands, one of the highest in the art world, fueling a persistent belief that someday, perhaps in the most unexpected way, the masterpieces will come home. Ultimately, the Gardner heist is not just a story of loss. It is a call to vigilance, a lesson in the fragility of beauty, and a reminder of how, sometimes, the only thing left behind by a perfect crime is the determination to never let it be forgotten. As long as the empty frames remain, so too does the hope that this story, unfinished for more than 30 years, might one day find its final chapter. In the early hours of March 18, 1990, 2 men disguised as police officers executed the largest art theft in history. stealing 13 masterpieces, including works by Vermeer and Rembrandt, from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. Despite decades of investigation, the case remains unsolved, the empty frames standing as haunting reminders of what was lost. The story of the Gardner heist is not just about missing art. It's about the lasting impact of a single night that changed museum security, reshaped public memory, and left a city searching for answers. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like and follow the channel for more mysterious, unsolved cases from around the world. Who knows? Maybe you hold the missing piece to the Gardner puzzle. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and join us next time as we uncover more stories that continue to haunt history.